New York Stock Exchange moments ago that the trading floor downtown will indeed close temporarily.
Wow.
Now, this does not mean that by any means, I want to stress this before we give the details, that the market is closing. What the stock exchange has said is that they are moving to full electronic trading as of Monday the 23rd, which is this coming Monday. The equities and options trading floors will temporarily close. So that news is just in. We can get some reaction to it. I know, well, listen, just briefly, that we had talked the last couple of days about the possibility of, some sort of a timeout or a closure of the markets. That's not this. But this is similar to what they did in Chicago, closing the floor, keeping the electronic trading going.
No, we have to be careful. We want to make sure our viewers understand that, so much of the trading is done electronically. It didn't make sense to have people there in close proximity to each other. At the same time, having humans down there to sort through things and make trades, and then also the signal that it sends to not have people there when you have a market that is already so nervous, I have no doubt was one of the biggest considerations. You don't want to see people close together. You don't want to see them in danger. But at the same time, when you have markets that are moving, more than 1,000 points in a day, you don't want to really do anything else to spook people any further. Do we have David Asman nearby? David Asman is joining us, and you'll be taking over on Bulls and Bears a short time from now. What do you think of this development?
It's an interesting one. As you mentioned, I mean, a lot of this, the secret, and Charlie Gasparino's come out with this before, there is a little dirty little secret to these shots that we have live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, is that the real business is done off the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. It used to be that's where you had to go in order to sell or buy stocks. Nowadays, as you all know, most of the trading is done electronically and everything. However, there are still significant deals that are made as a result of traders being on the floor, and this is going to upset that. Now, how can you upset that more than when you have a 1,338 point loss like you have today? You're going to have losses anyway, so this might actually have some kind of positive effect in a strange way of showing that the stock exchange is meeting the challenge. So I think it's good and bad news, and it may lead to some long-term changes where we eventually don't see that shot that we're looking at right now.
There's always been talk of that. I think the concerns at the open and the close, right? Melissa, we've talked about this, especially in this. David's right. It's hard to imagine a more volatile environment than that, but almost because we're in that environment, you do make the case for the human element to kind of at least try to limit some of that, or make matches and get prices right. But I get why they're doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder, because I was at the New York Mercantile Exchange when they were going all digital, and the traders on the floor, they couldn't imagine doing it without, people down there. One of the biggest traders on the floor was Eric Bolling.
Well,
and, they would sit down there, and you couldn't imagine that market without the humans on the floor, because they were signaling to each other, and they were really feeling the market, and they
Melissa,
were making, but business adapts.
Melissa, you know who I'm thinking about is Teddy
David.
Weisberg. We all think of particular characters that you can't imagine the floor being the same without, and it's gonna take a little adjustment, but gee whiz, we're gonna need some major adjustments throughout the country.
Detail to this that's just coming in. Sorry to interrupt you, David, but there is a member of the New York Stock Exchange trading floor community that has tested positive for COVID-19, which has just been released. They say that a member has tested positive. Individuals were screened at a checkpoint at the NYSE. That security checkpoint administered a test by medical personnel at the exchange, and they'll be treated and recuperate away from the exchange facility. That comes in, and now the press release follows that says the trading floor will be temporarily closed as of Monday.
You got to do what you got to do. Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's what has to be done. By the way, coming up, we have Dr. Oz telling us what to do if we're stuck at home, as this person who's going to be quarantined clearly must be. Anybody who is either self-quarantined or is thinking about it has to know how they're going to survive in an enclosed environment like that for a couple of weeks. Dr. Oz is going to tell us how coming up.
Yeah. I guess in a lot of senses, it's amazing that they were still open down there. Because if you think about just the proximity, in a lot of
people
cases
almost
you're
have
yelling.
to be close together, right?
Yeah. It just is. It's not the kind of environment, but at the same time, they're going to be worried about, do you really want to spook a market that's already spooked? And now we see the outcome. you know, it's somebody there has tested positive, and hopefully that they haven't spread it to other people there.
And Melissa, you bring up a great point, which is that there are some environments that are still could be considered socially dangerous in terms of the virus. And I'm thinking of shopping. You know, when you do go grocery shopping, you do kind of rub elbows with people. There are problems, but you have to get food. So this is an imperfect world, and it's we are going to make mistakes as we approach how to deal with the virus. But on the other hand, we can't completely cocoon ourselves in a situation where we're not able to get the very basics of life.
Christina? No, I mean, you look at different businesses, we're all sitting in different places right now. You know, this is unusual for us, but now people are used to looking at our guests on Skype or wherever else from somewhere else. And, you know, you've really separated. At the stock exchange, I'm not sure that was possible, but now trading will go on, and they will see how they can do it remotely without anyone there.
And by the way, you may soon see anchors on Skype as well. I know that we're talking about that internally also. So it's going to affect everything, even what we're seeing now on television.
And to bring those two stories that David talked about, the grocery store and now what we're talking about, the New York Stock Exchange together, Christina Partsenevelos joins us. Yesterday she was at the grocery store talking to people that were doing their shopping, but today you're down there on the floor, and just for a few more days where they'll you know, have human beings, at least for the time being, on that trading floor.
Yeah, so I feel like we almost felt like something was coming when they went around this afternoon telling us they're doing another massive cleaning today. Normally that's supposed to happen on Friday. So of course some eyebrows were raised. Why are you doing a massive cleaning in the afternoon every single day going forward? Did somebody test positive? Now we're hearing news that we have to get screened, so we have to get our temperature taken on our forehead when we enter the building. There are no guests allowed in the building. Someone did get screened and got turned away because they had a fever. That person did test positive. So according to what we're hearing here on the floor, and there are traders that are finding all of this information out as we speak, the person got turned away and didn't actually step onto the floor here, because there were over 100 people working here today. Right now there's maybe, you know, a few dozen traders just left around me. As for the electronic trading happening on Monday, everyone just found that out within the past few minutes or so. There was no I haven't received a massive email. Everybody's just talking to themselves, saying, so we're going live on Monday from home. How are we going to do this? How are we going to deal with a lot of our customers?
So it's not even tomorrow, it's Monday.
It's Monday,
Monday from unless things change. But I think they have to deal with one issue at a time. The fact that somebody's tested positive, so maybe there'll be even more screening as we enter, but I'm not sure how you could screen anymore aside from doing the temperature testing. We get stamped on our wrist. We have to fill out a form every single morning. But according to the New York Stock Exchange, that person didn't enter the floor, and I think that's a story that they're going to really try to push forward, given the fact that they're still going to remain open tomorrow and Friday, but that could be subject to change. So again, we're all finding this out right now.
Yeah, Christina. Wow, thank you. And Connell, I mean, you look at a market that was down more than 1,300 points today, and if ever there was a picture that is an intersection of the 2 points of this problem, of the health aspect of it and of the economic aspect, it is that shot on the New York Stock Exchange. And as we see that go completely electronic, I mean, that is really worlds colliding right there. You see, you know, the pandemic that has now spread and is now impacting, probably everybody knows someone at this point who's either been, you know, with somebody who's been exposed one way or the other. And then you look at, you know, the corner of Wall and Broad where the economy trades, where, you know, companies raise money and flourish, and, you know, and now they basically crashed into each other with this event.
I'm surprised they're even keeping it open, to Christina's point, until not have it closed down as of tomorrow. I think Christina might end up being right that I mean, this is all speculative at this point because we're just learning about it, that you have to make decisions and then all of a sudden something else comes out and people rethink and you make a different decision. But part of the point, Christina, I think, is just getting the logistics in place. As much of the trading is done electronically already, there is still some human element, I suppose, and, you know, getting all of that in place. You would think that planning has already, as it has been at many companies, been going on now for the last week or week and a half.
Well, may I weigh in? Because I have interviewed the president of the New York Stock Exchange a few times now in the morning, and she said that they've been prepared. Should the time or the moment come where everybody has to go electronic, she was very optimistic, saying they are ready for that. However, when you speak to some of the traders, they're more concerned about their clients not having the same interface in order to go through with a lot of these trades. So that's the issue. Does everybody have the exact same interfaces so they can trade, and buyers and sellers on both sides, which is what we need to make a market?
All right. Thank you so much, Christina.